The reality for our older people across Wales is that time is their enemy, but for different reasons. Not because there isn't enough, but because there almost seems to be too much of it.
Being lonely can be very stressful. It's not a good place to be, and we as a society need to do a lot more to relieve loneliness out there in our communities. That inner loneliness never goes away.
I think for people in the forces, they find it quite difficult to sort of build bonds with civilians.
My name's Dr. Dave Minton. I'm a GP at Nantgarrow Road Medical Centre in Caerphilly. I see many people coming into surgery on a daily basis who are suffering clearly with issues with loneliness but are not keen to admit it. We also get fairly frequent house calls from patients who are clearly just suffering from being lonely.
My name is Ffrind I Mi. I've been suicidal a few times. All I want is company. That's all I want is company. Believe it or not, I've got a snow leopard laying on my bed, and I talk to that most of the day. I enjoy people's company, I love it.
My name's Joan Watkins, and I am a war widow. My husband died over 30 years ago. He was a naval engineer. I have to say that following my husband's death, there really was no support for me and my family at all. And it's really sad for me to see that over 30 years later, very little in that respect has changed. You come home at the end of the day, and once you've closed that front door, it's a very lonely situation to be in. It's evenings, it's weekends, and you're lonely when you see other couples still together, doing things together. That's hard.
My name's Rob Wiltshire. I spent 10 years in the British Army in the Royal Logistics Corps. Basically that was providing transport, logistical transport, ranged from fuel, ammunition, food, anything that needed distributed throughout the battlefield or operational theatres. Left the forces because my mother was ill. I struggled quite a lot when I left my friendship with my friends back here. I lost contact with a lot of my friends purely to the fact that I was away on operational tour a lot. Sometimes I was away for 7-8 months at a time. I did operational tours of Afghanistan, Iraq, 2 years in Northern Ireland, Kosovo, Bosnia. So when I came home, I was quite lonely. I was trying to rekindle my friendship with my friends back here. My life as I knew it had ended. I didn't know, what to do, where to go, because I was so used to somebody being there telling me what to do. So I find it really, really strange.
I lost my son James when he was age 21. He was killed in Afghanistan in September 2009. And since then we've done various different things for charity and work with the Ministry of Defence and things like that. But all the way through it, there's been a massive gap where you find that there isn't anything there for anybody that just wants to talk about things, just someone to talk to. Whether it be for myself or my children, there was this big gap that there was nowhere for them to go to kind of express their emotions and anyone to help them and support them. You do feel really isolated, and then you feel lonely. I could be in a room full of my friends and family but still feel very different.
I think we need to start looking at how we befriend people. Human beings are gregarious by nature, I feel, and when you become isolated and away from your community, then that's a very lonely place to be.
I think if we could set up some form of service which we would be able to, as I've already said, signpost patients to, if we had a service that we could directly refer to, that our nursing colleagues could refer to, and indeed the wider social community would be able to refer people into, then it is inevitably going to help. It's also going to reduce the burden that we have on the health service. It's going to potentially reduce us prescribing, as I've already said, possibly inappropriately, and it will undoubtedly be of great help and hopefully great comfort to people who are suffering with loneliness.
I'm Hugh Irwin and I'm head of Thrive at United Welsh. We believe in Thrive that people need people, to have a good life. Actually, we have over 30 schemes for older people sheltered housing and extra care schemes. And we do have a lot of people here with different types of support needs, but the one thing that's kind of consistent, irrespective of the support needs, is isolation and loneliness.
Because of the limited time that we have with our patients in the appointments, and we haven't got enough time to counsel them thoroughly and properly enough, then we often end up over-medicating patients who are suffering with loneliness, or indeed treating it with drugs where that's not appropriate. If we could spend more time counselling them, or if we had services that we could refer patients to or signpost patients to, then that would be far better.
I think we've got to stop dishing out so many pills. I think we've got used to dealing with symptoms. So people come into whatever service because of an illness, whether that's physical or mental well-being issue, but those are symptoms of something else that's going on. What people are really struggling with are purpose in their lives, and meaningful relationships. People need to feel needed. This is a public health issue, and now we've got the hard evidence to say we must do something about this.
The military basically made me into this person that I felt, so above civilian people, and then to come out to work on the back of a factory line, I felt so degraded as a person, whereas before I was important, then I wasn't important.
As time has moved on, we're nearly 7 years on now, they're all getting on with their lives, and rightly so, but I'm still right there missing James every day, and you do find that you don't want to talk to them so much because they're getting on with their lives and you don't want to upset them. So then in turn you kind of isolate yourself and you don't know who you can talk to then. You just need to talk to somebody that isn't involved in it, and there isn't anybody to do that with.
I think for people in the forces, they find it quite difficult to sort of build bonds with civilians once leaving, because a soldier sleeps together, they eat together, they shower together, and that bond is just unbreakable. And because of the way that you're trained, you're broken as a person and then built back up into to be a soldier, to react and to do the things that they want you to do. So it does have an impact on you then as a civilian, because nobody understands you as a soldier, and I could be talking to my normal civilian friends about my times in the forces and the things that I have seen, and nobody understands it like a soldier understands it, so.
My name is Ffrind Varghese, and I'm a nurse. I came from India. Life completely changed for me when I came here first. I never traveled out of India until then, and this was my first voyage out of the country. So I used to just stay in the house. I was scared to go out because the looks, and there were occasions where negative. One occasion where I was beaten up. So there was a lot of negativity in the start, which made me really scared to go out on my own. And it was just work, back home, stay inside, and that was a life for almost a year or two. Got worse and worse at one point, and it was the only solution was just to sit in the house, and probably I've cried a lot. Sounds bad, but I've done that a lot. It's ironic to say, in this age where we are more digitally connected than ever, I still felt lonely because I could possibly Skype my parents and all, but still it wasn't enough.
I don't want to let James down, so I have to keep going. I've got, 2 other children and 2 grandsons, and, that's great. I immerse myself in their lives, but obviously they've got their own lives to lead, and, so you can't always do that. I just keep going, and I just think that it's very important to try to bring awareness to everybody else that this is huge.
When I was at my lowest point, I was in the house and I locked myself away and I wouldn't come out. I wouldn't associate with any people or anything. And a veterans charity called Change Step introduced me to chaps. I got a mentor called Kev, and he brought me down here one morning, introduced me to the horses and the things they do down here. It was like a calming effect with the horses, and it was a bit of therapy just working with the horses and grooming them and doing a few things, training them. And it was giving me a reason to get up in the morning. It was getting me interacting with people again. It's been a real big help coming down here.
So my name's Katie Double and I'm the CHAPS project manager and I work for the Gwalia Community Horse and Pony Scheme. We rescue, rehabilitate horses alongside people. We work with a variety of service users from substance misuse to kids with challenging behaviour, but more recently started working with ex-army veterans who suffer with PTSD. A couple of our servicemen often quote that, you know, it gives them an excuse to get up in the morning, gives them an excuse to get out of bed when they know that they've got the responsibility to go and look after the horses.
My name is Alan Morgan and I served in the army in the 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. Felt really good during my spell at the army, and then when I finished I developed post-traumatic stress disorder. Lots of tears, trying to find where I was, who I was, what I was doing, where I wanted to go. I feel now that it is essential that anybody who thinks that they have post-traumatic stress disorder go and see about it. There's nothing to be afraid of, nothing to be ashamed of. It's just it's not you, it's what has happened to you. Loneliness is a terrible thing. You've got no trust in yourself, you've got no trust in others, you've no trust in your family, they love you dearly. And that means that you also have time to think about silly things, you know, like harming yourself. I wish that everybody in the armed forces, when they come out, whether they're suffering from PTSD, I just think that more should be done. They've served, they've done what they were asked to do, and they get nothing in return.
Now, like I said, I work for a company called Gwalia. I have a lot of veterans come through the services that are homeless. A lot of them are, you know, substance misuse, struggling to deal with loneliness, bereavement. So I basically key work clients, help them with you know, any medical appointments that they might have. Help them on housing to get them rehoused, and I think that you know, it's quite vital that there is sort of a hostel setting, a befriending service in place for people who haven't got anything in place, you know.
I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. I found my solace. It's cost me dearly, but I found it, and I'm so grateful to CHAPS for having me up here.
The workplace came and helped me. They all were quite helpful and they actually took me on, and I was invited to their homes, which made me feel really good. It wasn't a pleasant journey to get where I am right now.
I think this project will be very, very important. There's a lot of lonely people out there, a lot of lonely people. And a little bit of help would help everybody.
Loneliness is a really, really big issue in our communities. It isn't written on your forehead that you're lonely, and it's not something that people can see, but it is something we need to do something about. And we can, and we must, and we will.